Hi, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And on this channel, we review books. Now, I'm just looking at my laptop. Don't worry, I felt rude for a second. I wasn't making eye contact. This is a video I kind of decided to do impromptu because I realized as of recording this, it is March 30th, and this video will go live the first Sunday in April, and which means the first quarter of the year is over, which is insane. March flew past, and my reading did not. I've been reading just very slowly, but I have been reading, and so I figured, why don't I just recap what I've read thus far within the first quarter of the year, and maybe even rethink again how I'm going to be moving forward with my reading for the remainder of at least this year. And also, that's a lot of vehicles. What a job, man. Respect. It's the first quarter of the year. I'm going to go over what I've read thus far and how I think I'm going to be I had a list of like 15 books. I hope I remember to link that video below about, the must reads for me for 2024. And if I don't read anything else, this is what I'm going to read. My reading has slowed down so much. I don't know if I'm going to make it through that list, but I still have some key books I absolutely want to read before the end of the year. And I'll get into that. Also, let's talk skincare for 2.5 seconds because it looks like I've been punched in the face. I have not. Retinol. Retinol is a fantastic skincare product. It's good for breakouts. It's good for, anti-aging. That's not why I'm using it. I don't have a wrinkle on my face, so I'm not using it for that. I'm using it to just even out my skin tone. Anyone who has oily skin knows the struggle when you're prone to breaking out. And that retinol will just make stuff come to the surface that's been laying dormant, and that's what happened. It all exploded at once. Fantastic skincare product though. I will never look back. I'm in the purging phase, and it's been interesting. So don't worry, I haven't been punched in the face, because sometimes people in the comments will pick up the most random things and you're like, don't worry, I'm not dying. It's okay. Let's talk about what I've read thus far and what I'm currently reading and why it's slowed down. And then we'll get into my must reads and even more scaled back must reads for the remainder of the year. Not saying that that's all I'm going to read, but I'm going with the flow completely, which is rare for me because I'm not a spontaneous person. Usually. We'll get into spontaneity in a minute. So the book that carried over from 2023 into about halfway through January was The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is no, it's not a reread for me. My necklace is choking me. First tried to read The Goldfinch in 2014 and couldn't get past somewhere between the 100 and 200 page mark. I just was bored to tears, but I decided to read it again, and I'm glad I did because I feel like I read it at the appropriate time. After this video, I will be recording this review and it'll be going up in April, but The Goldfinch. So this carried over into 2024. So I finished The Goldfinch. Let's put this here. Faces in the Water by Janet Frame. This carried over from 2023. This is a reread for me. Fantastic novel. 5 stars all the way around. Fantastic. Not talked about enough. Not read enough. Cannot wait to do an updated review. I don't have a review of this on my YouTube channel. I have an old 4+ year old review of this on my Instagram. So I'm going to have to dig that review back up. I do have it saved on my laptop and refine it because Janet Frame, New Zealand author. She has since passed, but so good. So good. Voyager, Diana Gabaldon. This is a reread. I read this back in 2017. It took me almost a year to get through this book because 2017 was not a fun year for me. So I struggled with my reading a lot. But I reread it, and man, it was just lots of fun. I appreciated it more this time around. Not that I didn't like it the first time around. It just I read it during a rough patch. Okay. If I'm still looking over here, I'm still getting used to my lens being over here, and not over here. Ooh, this book. Okay. Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I can't wait to review this because this book is actually a no for me. I loved Convenience Store Woman. That was great. This one, let me just put it this way. I draw the line at cannibalism. I have a tough stomach. This book was just, the ending was just too much. She was doing too much. So, you deserve to fall for that ending. This was a carryover from 2023. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. It'll take me a while to get around to reviewing this. I read it with a friend who's local. We did not become friends because of reading. We became friends because we had mutual friends. And so we read together because it forces us to communicate. You know what it's like being an adult. But we read together, and she is a massive Ernest Hemingway fan. This is my first Hemingway. And so she wanted to reread it, and I had never read it. So Ernest Hemingway, will not review that until we have had time to meet up and actually discuss the book. What I'm currently reading as of March 30th, 2024. I have 3 books. I'm a mess. I'm all over the place. I'm looking over here. My hair's all over the place. I got a trim recently, so my ends are so blunt that they're just kind of doing whatever they want to do. I currently have 3 books on rotation. Speaking of twisted, like Earthlings was twisted. Lapvana by Ottosha Mossbag. I'm only 60 pages in. I started it about a week ago. I am enjoying it though. Like I know I'm not into like the meat and potatoes for real yet, though we've had a little hints at some stuff being real crazy and a little unhinged. But after my reread of My Year of Rest and Relaxation and then picking up Lapvana, I feel like I'm going to be a Mossbag fan. The writing style is a little different than it was in My Year of Rest and Relaxation. It's not lush, it's not flowery, but it is a little bit more descriptive. Whereas if you read My Year of Rest and Relaxation, for the most part, it's pretty blunt. There are some sections that are quite descriptive, but this, I knew that this was going to read almost fable-like, and that is accurate. There's something about this book that I feel like I'm really going to get on with, even though it's unhinged. I don't mind an unhinged book. I don't like Earthlings unhinged. I'm excited to really dive into this one because, I'm only 60 something pages in, and I can tell that there's going to be a lot of religious imagery and themes in particular to talk about. This one. The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. Really enjoying it, but it is dense. And so because it is so dense, I really wanted to savor it. I started this book at the beginning of March, and it's the end of March, and I'm only halfway through because I've only been reading 5 to 10 pages at a time, and not even every day. I want to make sure that I'm grasping what he's talking about and the arguments that he's making. He is making, this is an argument about why people commit suicide, but he's going to come back around and argue why it's worth living. And even in the preface, it sums itself up for me as a lucid invitation to live and to create in the very midst of the desert. This just calls to be savored. And so again, 5 to 10 pages at a time, maybe every other day, just when I feel like I'm in the mood to pick it up, and I'm just taking my time reading this and not hammering through 20 pages because I can, or even because I have the time to, but again, letting the book dictate the pace. So again, look at the annotations. This book, I might as well just go dump the book into a whole canister of highlighter ink. That's how deep it is, and I have to think about it. So very slow. And currently also reading, my tabs are coming out, Clash of Kings by Martin, second installment in Game of Thrones. Again, enjoying it. This is a reread for me, but I read it through The Dark Night of the Soul. I don't remember anything. So for me, this is, I'm going to probably consider this a first read. I remember absolutely nothing about this book. And I didn't start this at the beginning of March. I started it about halfway through March. So, and I'm only about 300 pages in to a 900 plus page novel. So the bookmark popped out. That's okay. Again, taking my time. Why am I taking my time? Why is it so slow? Why is my reading so slow? So that's what I've gotten through in the first quarter of the year. Typically at this point in a year, my track record would be anywhere between 9 to 12 books completed. That's 3 to 5 books, maybe even 15. 3 to 5 books a year. 3 to 5 books a month was my average. And it was a steady average for me for the past few years. Why so slow? Slow for me because I acknowledge that there are people who would look at what I've managed to read this year and say, wow, I don't even read that in a year. You know, I'm the type of person, if you read one good book this year and that was the only good book that you read and you loved it, that's all that matters. It's just life is busy. Work is busy. And a lot of times, again, I typically try to read on my lunch break. That's where the biggest bulk of my reading actually gets done Monday through Friday is during my lunch breaks. Sometimes I'm so, my brain is racing so much that when I finally sit down for my lunch and it's quiet, I'm trying to decompress and not necessarily read. Even if I have my book in front of me, I'm just not present. And I'd rather read and be present than to force myself to read and then have to go back and reread because I tried to force myself to do something I didn't want to do in that time. Also, I've embraced being a little bit more spontaneous this year, which is something that I struggle with, is spontaneity. It's hard to be spontaneous when there's only so much you can get done in a day and there are things that have to get done. But for example, a couple weeks ago where I live, we had unusually warm weather. It was like late May weather, completely out of season. I'm talking mid 80s, and it was beautiful that whole week. And I work in a very small office. I work in a large department, but the immediate office I work in is very small. And so the few people that I work with, I mean, I'm talking like there's four, soon to be 5 of us, but 3 of us are super, super close. And I mean that, like, we're actually friends. We hang out after work. Sometimes we have each other's personal numbers. I was the one on a Tuesday, knowing that the weather was going to be bomb on Friday. I looked at him, I said, I don't know what y'all doing, but I'm putting in leave and I'm going to the beach. Who's coming with? I'm paraphrasing. And they were like, let's do it. Our supervisor approved it all. He was so inspired. He took leave because I was like, it is too beautiful to be sitting behind walls today. Let's go to the beach. We packed up my coworker's Jeep, top down. We went to the beach. My supervisor did not go, but the 3 of us went. I don't think he would want to hang out with us. We packed up my coworker's Jeep. We piled into the Jeep. The top was down, or the top was off. And I brought a book with me to the beach. I read 5 pages, and we sat on the beach from 10 a.m. or about 10:30. No, we sat on the beach from about 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. because it was going to rain later in the afternoon. And so I brought my book with me. I didn't read. I just sat and enjoyed the warmth, enjoyed the sun, and just listened to the beach. And I was like, I don't have to read right now. So that's just kind of where I've been going. And if I read, I read. If I don't, I don't. I'm still reading. I'm not in a slump. It's just I'm embracing my reading as life dictates. And that is okay. So I did have a video. Again, I hope I remember to link it. If not, whatever. But if you look through my feed and the thumbnail says scaling it back. And it's my reading plans for 2024. Those 15 books might not get read this year. That stack might not be finished. Though some of those books or I'm currently reading, like Clash of Kings and Ottessa Moshfegh and Albert Camus and Voyager. But what I selected, if you look at that list, there are some chunkers in there. Like I wanted to reread the Brothers Karamazov. I wanted to read Clarice Lispector's Too Much of Life. But they're thick. And I'm thinking, if I don't get through those books, okay. I just want to get through what I can get through. And so let me show you what I absolutely do plan to read, though. And I'm even considering maybe being more of a mood reader. I'm not usually a mood reader, but I'm considering mood reading a little bit more and just going with the flow, mainly picking off my shelves. I have not purchased a book in months. I've just been reading off my shelves and it's been great. There are a couple books I would like to purchase this year, but that's about it. And they're not even released yet. One of them is released, got released in at the end of last year, and there are two books I do really want to read. So I might knock some of these off and read those. So again, I'm going with the flow because reading is a hobby for me and I want to make sure that it feels that way and it stays that way. And the way for it to stay that way for me is to adjust it how I see fit as life, like I said, dictates. Okay, so this is what I absolutely will be reading in 2024. Others pending. We'll see. This is scaled back from the last video. And some of them are the same books. It's just Helen Garner's Monkey Grip. This was sent to me by Penguin Random House. They sent me the children's book last year. I read it. I enjoyed it. Review coming soon. And I had no obligation to do a review for this. They just wanted to send it to me. And so Monkey Grip is coming because if somebody sends me a book, I want to read it. And I don't accept books very often, especially now. I've had some offers, believe it or not. I've had a few offers this year alone, and my nose is itchy. And I've turned them down because I said that at this moment, my reading is so slow. If I'm going to take a book, I want to make sure that I can read it. And at this moment, I can't guarantee I'm going to read it. I refuse to take a book just to take a book. That's so tacky to me because a lot of times they want you to, and not just to post it and say, hey, this is being released. No, I'm going to do a review. Like I want to read it. I don't want it just to be Instagram decoration. So Helen Garner's Monkey Grip, this was sent to me. I received it in February. There's no obligation for me to actually review the book, but I am going to read and review it. Helen Garner is an Australian author, and she is considered one of the Australian classics. She's just like a classic author, so for them. So, also speaking of Australia, I recently have come across the Teskey Brothers. They're so good. They're in a band called the Teskey Brothers, and I mean you have instrumentalists in the back, but there's two brothers, and I'm addicted. The lead singer's voice sounds like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke's voices merged together, and it's good. Like it is good. Man, I can't. Do yourself a favor. Go listen to the Teskey Brothers, especially if you're a fan of Otis Redding. Man. And then go on their Instagram page, the Teskey Brothers, and read the comments because they're hilarious. Elena Ferrante's The Story of a New Name. This is the book that I'm still laughing about the Teskey Brothers in Australia. That voice, I'm still on it. That voice will come out of Australia. Just saying. Like, I want to know what he grew up listening to. What were his parents playing in the house? That voice. The soul in that voice. You either have it or you don't. Elena Ferrante's The Story of a New Name, which is the second installment of the Neapolitan Quartet. Definitely going to read this year. My Brilliant Friend was one of my top reads of 2023, and this is a book I plan to read after I get through A Clash of Kings, because I read The Goldfinch, Voyager, and Clash of Kings back to back to back, and all of those are chunky. I wanted to scale it back a bit. 500 pages is not scaling it back a bit. 470 some. Still not the thinnest book, but we're going to switch it up. So that is definitely a book I want to read. Heaven is getting thrown in by Mieko Kawakami because I was having a chat with two of my friends, Michi and Christy. They both have Instagrams. They both have channels. I don't know why I put 3. They both have channels. And we recently had a chat together on Christy's YouTube channel, Dostoevsky in Space. We were all discussing QT84. We'd all read it. And so Christy and I had yet to read Heaven. Michi has read it. And it's a slim little volume. And we decided to read it together in May. And so it won't take long to get through this at all. And do another live discussion talking about Mieko Kawakami. I read Breasted Eggs last year, one of my top reads of 2023. So, The House on Sun Street. This was sent to me last year. Still haven't gotten around to reading it, again, because reading is slow. But again, like I said, if a book is given to me, I want to read it. I have one more over there called A True Account that was sent to me. And again, if it was sent to me, I want to read it. And so that's another reason why I'm not accepting ARCs at this moment, is because I want to catch up on what was sent to me. And there was no obligation, to be honest with me, to review these books. I did feature them on my Instagram account. I did mention them in some of my videos last year, but I want to make sure that I read these. So I'm going to read that. Don't know when, but I'm going to read it. A Fine Balance. This was in my plans for 2024 anyway. I'm going to start reading this in June with one of my bookish friends on Instagram, Joanne. And so, again, we're going to take our time reading this. Her reading has slowed down. We agreed when we were chatting back and forth a few days ago, we agreed to just pace ourselves. And that is really the theme of it. I've been enjoying pacing myself. There was a period of time I could read 150 pages in a weekend. Can't do that now. Ooh, I gotta read this. East of Eden. Ooh, I gotta read it because I have a feeling that it's not only going to be a contender for a top read of the year, but a top read of life. Okay? Because my boy Johnny, J.S. Steinbeck, OG. He's an OG. My guy. You know I love Grapes of Wrath. Gotta read it. That's a stop, drop, and roll book. That book will get read before the end of 2024. Also, Lonesome Dove. Another one. It has to get read before the end of this year. Again, top read of 2024 contender. I'm planning on it. But I gotta read Lonesome Dove. Gotta read it. And The Idiot by Dostoevsky. If I don't get to The Brothers K, I gotta get to another book by my boy D Money, and I'd rather pick a book I haven't read yet in this case than to reread. So The Idiot. Actually, I'm craving The Idiot kind of already because of Camus, and Camus was a Dostoevsky fan, so I'm just missing my boy D Money. So that's it. That's just a ramble of where I am at a quarter of the year with my reading. I have 3 reviews to record after this, so stay tuned. I have The Goldfinch coming, The Roman Way by Edith Hamilton, since I went on and did The Greek Way, and The Children's Book by Helen Garner. Also, even though my reading is slowing down, book reviews will not be slowing down because, again, slowing down my reading has allowed me to go back into my review catalog. And I mean catalog. I have all of my book reviews from 2020, really 2019, but I really started to write more in-depth book reviews in 2020. So from 2020 is what I'm really looking at, and up until I started my YouTube channel. So I have from when I started my YouTube channel in 2022, I have 2 years of book review content that I can pull from. Also, it's still on my radar, a video on how I annotate. That one's I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do that, the format. Anyway, let's stop rambling. I went on longer than I had intended. And I have quite a bit to do today, so not just record videos. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Also, don't forget to follow me on the Instagrams where I get up to more bookish shenanigans. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.